I want you to close your eyes, take a breath, and imagine just for a moment that every word I speak is meant for her to hear. Not just her ears, but the part of her that listens with her heart. There's a rhythm to desire that most men miss. They chase loud, they shout through actions, they try to impress. But there's something intoxicating about quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. What I'm about to share with you isn't a trick. It's not a line, it's not a facade. It's something deeper, something that touches her senses, her emotions. The subtle spaces where connection becomes attraction, and attraction becomes something unforgettable. Here we go. You read that right to make a woman fall in love with you. You don't do what other guys do. You don't rush. You don't perform. You don't try to dazzle. You move with intention, with care, and then with an almost sensual awareness of her presence. Most men ask questions like, what can I say to impress her? How do I make her want me? What do I have to be? But none of that matters if you don't understand this. Women feel what men think. Not consciously, not on the surface, but deep down like a sixth sense. And what she senses first isn't your words, it's your inner state. So let's begin where other guys never even think to start. Start with yourself, start with your stillness, start with the way you breathe when you're around her, the way your gaze rests on her, the way your voice softens when you speak her name. When you show up with calm confidence, something inside her relaxes. She catches the subtle cues, the lack of pressure, the absence of need, and she thinks, he's comfortable with himself. That alone is seductive. Seduction isn't about being wild, it's about being present, and presence is magnetic. Now, I want you to step into this feeling with me. Imagine you're sitting across from her. The light is soft, the world around you fades, it's just you and her, and the space between your words is alive with meaning. You don't lean in aggressively. Instead, your body moves with comfort, slow, easy, effortless. You speak with warmth, not performance. You listen with full attention, not half, waiting for your turn to talk. She notices it feels different from anything she's experienced, and that's exactly what makes it powerful. Most men talk at her. You talk with her. You notice the little things. The way her hair falls over her shoulder when she laughs. The subtle shift in her voice when she's telling a story she loves. The way her eyes look when she's being sincere. You don't comment on these things like a poet trying too hard. You simply notice them, and she feels seen, understood. That's the real seduction. Most men chase attraction. You create resonance. Attraction is loud. Resonance is quiet and unforgettable. Here's something almost no one says out loud, but it's true. Women don't fall in love with the loudest voice in the room. They fall in love with the one who makes them feel safe to be themselves. Safety isn't boring, it's intoxicating. And here's the part most men trip over. You don't try to win her over. You simply show up in a way that makes her want to stay present with you. That's the difference. Now let's talk about moments that matter, the tiny exchanges that carry emotional weight. A pause before you speak, not because you're unsure, but because you're deliberate. A look that lingers long enough to be noticed, short enough to leave her wanting more. A question that goes deeper, not what do you do, but what lights you up. Not where are you from, but what do you dream about when no one's listening. Those are the moments that make her think, he's different. And when she thinks he's different, that's when attraction starts to shift. It starts to deepen, it starts to feel inevitable. Here's something else you must understand. Because every guy else misses it, the way you make her feel matters more than the words you say. Words are just sound, feeling is emotion. When she's around you, she should feel seen, heard, appreciated, desired, understood, not possessed, not chased, not evaluated, just felt. And that feeling, when done with intention and care, is seductive. Now let's go into something a lot of men never learn, the art of slow escalation. You don't rush into deep topics, you don't jump into vulnerability. You let her invite you in, you match her pace. You match her energy, you match her mood, not like a follower, but like someone who feels the rhythm before dancing to it. You give her space, yet your presence fills the room. That tension, that delicate balance between interest and ease, this is where attraction turns into something warmer, something deeper, something that feels like a promise. She starts to lean in. She starts to open up. She starts to share things she's never shared with someone so quickly, not because you forced it, but because you earned the space where she feels safe enough to do it. This is the opposite of what other guys do. Other guys rush, other guys impress, other guys perform. You don't perform, you invite, you don't chase, you attract. And the way you do that is with a presence that feels like a warm flame in a quiet room, comforting, mesmerizing, unforgettable. Now take a breath with me, slow, intentional. Because from here on, the next layers are deeper, softer, and more emotionally charged. What I'm about to guide you into next isn't about what you say. It's about how you make her feel when you say it. And that's where true connection begins. There's a moment, if you pay attention, when a woman shifts from being curious about you to being quietly drawn in. It doesn't happen when you talk louder. It doesn't happen when you show off. It happens when you make her feel something she didn't expect. That feeling is subtle, warm, almost dangerous, because it feels like comfort mixed with excitement, and that combination is powerful. So let's go there. Imagine you're with her again, not in a loud place, not somewhere distracting, somewhere the world feels a little softer, somewhere her guard drops without her even realizing it. Your voice doesn't rush, your words don't compete, they simply flow. And when you speak, you're not trying to impress her, you're letting her feel your calm. Women don't fall in love with clever lines, they fall in love with emotional presence. And presence is felt through small things. The way you listen when she talks, the way you don't interrupt her stories, the way you remember what she said last time. She notices all of it. And somewhere inside her, a quiet thought begins to form. He feels different. Different is dangerous. Different is attractive. Different makes her curious in a way she can't quite explain. Now here's something almost no one teaches men. When you give a woman emotional space, she feels it with attachment. When you don't demand her attention, she offers it. When you don't pressure her for affection, she begins to want to give it. That's the paradox of attraction. Most men lean in too fast. You lean in slowly. You let the tension build. You let the silence breathe, because in that space between words, something intimate starts to grow. And she feels it. Have you ever noticed how the most intense moments between two people aren't when they're talking, but when they pause, look at each other, and feel something they don't yet have words for? That's what you create when you stop trying to be impressive and start being present. Your eyes soften, your voice lowers just a little, not to be seductive, but because you're calm, grounded, and certain. That tone does something to her. It signals, I'm safe, I'm real, I'm here with you. And that makes her relax into herself. And when a woman relaxes into herself, she becomes more open, more expressive, more emotionally available. That's when she starts to show you her true side. Not the version she shows the world, but the one she keeps just beneath the surface, the one that wants to be understood. Now let's talk about something most men get completely wrong. They think seduction is about getting her to feel something for them, but real seduction is about helping her feel more deeply connected to herself while she's with you. When she laughs with you and feels more alive, when she talks to you and feels more honest, when she's quiet with you and feels more at ease, those emotions get associated with you. And that's how love begins to take root. Not through fireworks, but through familiarity that feels good, through closeness that feels natural, through moments that feel like they belong. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to force any of it. You just have to be present enough to let it happen. Now imagine her sitting there talking about something that matters to her. You don't rush to respond. You don't try to solve it. You simply listen with warmth, with focus, with genuine interest. Your attention becomes a kind of intimacy, and that intimacy feels rare. Because in a world where everyone is distracted, your attention feels like a gift. She starts to associate that feeling of being valued with you. And slowly, quietly, her heart begins to lean in. Not because you demanded it, but because you created a space where it felt safe to do so. This is the opposite of what other guys do. Other guys want attention, you give attention. Other guys want validation, you give understanding. Other guys want affection, you create connection. Your connection always comes before love. Now breathe. Slow. Because the next layer is even deeper. What happens when a woman begins to feel emotionally seen by you is that she starts to reveal parts of herself she doesn't usually show. Her softer side, her thoughtful side, her vulnerable side. And when she does, you don't judge it. You don't analyze it. You simply hold space for it. That's where trust is born. And trust is the doorway to love. She starts to think about you when you're not around. Not because you demanded her attention, but because being with you feels like coming home. That's the feeling that lasts. That's the feeling that stays. And that's the feeling we'll go even deeper into next. There's something that happens when a woman starts to feel emotionally safe with you. Her mind relaxes. Her defenses soften. Her heart begins to wander toward you without her even realizing it. And that's where real attraction lives. Not in loud gestures, not in clever lines, but in the gentle pull of emotional connection. Now imagine this. You haven't spoken to her in a few hours, maybe even a day, but instead of feeling anxious or forgotten, she finds herself thinking about you, not because you flooded her with messages, not because you demanded her attention, but because when she was with you, she felt something real, a warmth, a calm, a sense of being understood. That feeling lingers. It follows her into quiet moments, It slips into her thoughts when she's alone. And slowly you become associated with comfort, desire, and emotional closeness. That's how you make her miss you without trying to. Most men try to create attraction through presence, but the real power is in what she feels when you're not there. When she finds herself wondering, what is he doing right now? Why do I feel so calm when I think about him? Why do I want to talk to him again? Those questions are the first whispers of love, and you create them by being emotionally present, not emotionally needy. Now here's a secret almost no one talks about. Women fall in love when they feel emotionally chosen, not possessed, not chased, chosen. When you give her your attention fully, warmly, without distraction, she feels selected in a world that's always pulling people away. And that feeling is deeply seductive. You don't have to say, you're special. You make her feel special by how you show up, by how you listen, by how you remember, by how you respond, by how you don't rush her words, by how you let her finish her thoughts, by how you hold her stories with care. All of that tells her, I see you, and being seen is one of the deepest human desires. Now imagine she's talking about something that matters to her, maybe something she's never said out loud to many people. You don't interrupt, you don't rush to fix it, you simply stay with her. Your presence becomes a kind of quiet support, and she feels safe in that space. And safety is where love grows. Not the boring kind of safety, but the kind that lets her be real, let her be imperfect, let her be open. And when she can be herself around you, she begins to associate that freedom with you. That's powerful. Now let's go deeper. There's a moment when a woman realizes she feels emotionally close to you. It's subtle. She starts to tell you things she doesn't tell other people. She laughs more freely. She shares memories. She opens up about dreams, fears, little moments from her life. And when she does, you don't treat it lightly. You treat it like something precious, because it is. And when you do that, she feels cherished, and being cherished feels intoxicating. You're not just another man in her world. You become someone she feels connected to, someone she trusts, someone she wants to be near. That's when attraction shifts into something deeper. Now think about how you speak to her, not with rehearsed lines, but with warmth, a softness in your voice, a gentle certainty behind your words, not loud, not aggressive, just calm and sure. That tone does something inside her. It feels like stability, like confidence, like quiet strength. And that combination is incredibly attractive because it makes her feel held emotionally. And when a woman feels emotionally held, she begins to let go of defenses, let go of doubts, let go of the need to protect herself. She opens. And that opening is where love begins to take shape. Now here's the beautiful part. You don't have to push her into this. You simply create the space where it happens naturally. You don't rush, you don't force, you don't chase, you stay present, you stay grounded, you stay emotionally available. And slowly she starts to lean toward you, not because you pulled her, but because being with you feels good, feels safe, feels real. And that's the feeling she wants more of. So she starts to reach out, to message you, to think about you. And when she does, you meet her with the same calm warmth, not overwhelming her, not pulling away, just staying steady. That balance between closeness and ease creates emotional tension. And emotional tension is what keeps her drawn to you. Now take a slow breath with me, because what comes next is where things become even more magnetic. There's a strange and beautiful truth about attraction that almost no one understands. The more someone feels emotionally comfortable with you, the more they begin to crave you. Not because you're distant, not because you're unavailable, but because you don't cling, you let her come toward you. That subtle space, that quiet room between you is where desire starts to breathe. Now imagine this, she's had a long day, her mind is tired, her heart is a little heavy, and then she thinks about you. Not because you texted her 10 times, not because you demanded her attention, but because when she talks to you, she feels calm, she feels understood, she feels like she doesn't have to pretend. That emotional comfort becomes something she wants again. And when she wants it, she wants you. This is the paradox. The men who chase her push her away. The man who gives her emotional space pulls her in, because space gives her room to feel, to think, to miss. Now here's where quiet confidence comes in. You don't disappear to play games. You don't pull away to manipulate. You simply live your life with fullness. You have things you care about, dreams, purpose, a rhythm of your own. And when she steps into that world, she feels like she's being invited into something meaningful, not a desperate need, a rich presence. That's incredibly attractive. She doesn't feel like she has to perform for you. She feels like she can just be, and that feeling becomes addictive. Now let's talk about emotional mystery, not hiding who you are, but not spilling everything all at once. You let her discover you little by little, through conversations, through moments, through shared silence. Each layer she learns makes her more curious, more invested, more emotionally involved. And because you don't rush the connection, it feels deeper, more real, more lasting. Most men rush to be known. You allow yourself to be discovered. And that discovery feels intimate. Now imagine sitting with her again. There's a pause between your words, not awkward, not forced, just soft, comfortable. You look at her, not staring, just present. And in that quiet moment, something passes between you, not words, a feeling, a recognition, a kind of emotional closeness that doesn't need explanation. That's where attraction quietly turns into something warmer, something that lingers. She starts to associate you with peace, with comfort, with a gentle kind of excitement. And that combination is powerful because it feels like home and like desire at the same time. Now think about how rare that is. Most people make her feel either safe or excited. You make her feel both, and when that happens, she doesn't want to let go. She wants to stay in that feeling with you. Now let's go deeper. There comes a moment when she begins to sense that you don't need her, but you enjoy her, and that difference changes everything. Need feels heavy, enjoyment feels light, and lightness is seductive. When she feels like being with you is a choice, not an obligation, she leans in because she wants to be there, not because she has to, and that choice becomes the beginning of love. Now take a breath. Slow, because the next part is where emotional intimacy turns into something she feels in her heart. There's a moment that changes everything. It's when a woman realizes she feels emotionally closer to you than she intended. Not because you pushed, not because you convinced her, but because with you she feels something she doesn't feel often, a sense of ease, a sense of being understood without having to explain herself. And that realization can feel almost surprising to her. She might not say it out loud, she might not even fully understand it yet, but she feels it, and once she feels it, she can't unfeel it. Now imagine this, she's talking, and you notice her voice soften, her words slow down, she's no longer performing, she's no longer guarded, she's just herself, and you stay there with her. You don't rush to fill the silence, you don't pull away from the intimacy, you let it exist. That's rare, because most people get uncomfortable when things become real. You don't, you remain calm, grounded, open. And that steadiness becomes something she leans into emotionally because it feels safe to do so. And safety, when mixed with attraction, creates something powerful. Now let's talk about emotional intimacy, not the dramatic kind, but the quiet kind, the kind that builds in small moments, a look held just a second longer, a shared laugh over something simple, a conversation that drifts into silence without feeling awkward. Those are the moments she remembers, not the big gestures, not the loud promises, but the feeling of being close without pressure. And slowly, those moments stack, they build, they create familiarity. And familiarity, when it feels good, becomes attachment. Now here's something important. You don't try to define the connection too early. You don't ask, where is this going? You don't push labels. You let the connection breathe. Because when a woman feels free, she stays longer. She opens more. She invests emotionally. And that investment is her choice, not something you asked for. And because it's her choice, it means more. Now imagine she starts to share something personal. Maybe a fear, maybe a doubt, maybe something she rarely admits, and you listen not to respond, but to understand. Your presence becomes reassurance, not through advice, not through fixing, just through being there. And that makes her feel supported, held, valued. And when a woman feels emotionally supported by a man she's attracted to, her heart begins to open, not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. And that steady opening is how love grows. Now let's talk about the way you express interest. You don't overdo it. You don't overwhelm her with compliments. When you do speak, your words are simple, honest, specific, not about her body, but about her presence, the way she makes you feel when she talks, the calm you feel when she's around, the warmth in her energy. Those words land deeper because they speak to who she is, not just how she looks, and that makes her feel seen. Now here's where things quietly shift. She starts to feel emotionally close to you. She feels comfortable, she feels desired, she feels valued, and she begins to imagine you in her life without even realizing she's doing it. She wonders how it would feel to see you more often, to talk to you longer, to be closer to you. That's the beginning of emotional attachment, and it happens naturally when you don't force it. Now take a slow breath, because the next part goes even deeper into how consistency, emotional reliability, and quiet strength make her feel safe enough to fall in love. There's a kind of attraction that burns bright and fast, and then there's the kind that stays, the kind that grows quietly, the kind that settles into her heart. That's what you're creating now. Not excitement that fades, but a connection that feels stable, warm, and real. And the way you do that is through something incredibly simple. Consistency, not constant messaging, not endless reassurance, but emotional consistency. You show up the same way each time, calm, present, kind, grounded. That predictability doesn't make you boring, it makes you safe. And safety, when paired with attraction, is irresistible because it tells her, I can trust him. I don't have to guess how he feels. I don't have to protect myself around him. And when a woman stops protecting herself, she starts opening her heart. Now imagine this. She has a moment where she's unsure, maybe about herself, maybe about the connection. She reaches out to you, not with words, but with tone, and you meet her with the same warmth. You don't pull away, you don't change, you stay steady. That steadiness becomes something she leans on emotionally, and slowly she starts to feel anchored to you. Not trapped, anchored, like you're someone she can relax into. Now let's talk about quiet strength. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to prove it. It shows in how you respond. When something doesn't go your way, you stay calm. When she's emotional towards, you stay present. When there's uncertainty, you don't panic. That emotional stability is incredibly attractive because it makes her feel like you're someone she can feel safe with, not just physically, but emotionally, and that safety allows love to grow. Now think about how you treat her emotions. You don't dismiss them. You don't minimize them. You acknowledge them. You let her feel heard. And that tells her something deep inside. He cares about how I feel. And caring, genuine, quiet caring is seductive in a way nothing else is because it makes her feel valued. Towards, not as something to win, but as someone to be with. Now here's the beautiful part. As you continue showing up like this, she starts to feel emotionally connected to you. She starts to feel understood. She starts to feel calm around you. And that calm becomes something she craves because in a chaotic world, you feel like peace. And peace is powerful. Peace makes her want to stay. Peace makes her want to open. Peace makes her want to fall. Now breathe slow, because what comes next is where this emotional connection begins to feel like something she doesn't want to lose. There comes a quiet moment when a woman realizes something has changed. She doesn't wake up and say, I'm falling in love. It's subtler than that. She just notices that when something good happens, you're the first person she wants to tell. When something feels heavy, you're the one she wants to hear from. When she's alone, your presence is the one she feels missing. That's how love begins. Not in fireworks, but in emotional gravity. You become a place her heart returns to. Not because you pulled her there, but because it feels natural. And that's the power of what you've been doing. You didn't chase her, you didn't pressure her, you didn't overwhelm her, you simply stayed emotionally present, and presence builds attachment. Now imagine she's sitting somewhere, scrolling on her phone, she pauses, she sees your name, and a soft smile forms on her lips before she even realizes it. That smile isn't about what you said last, it's about how you made her feel. Calm, warm, seen, and that feeling has attached itself to you. That's emotional bonding, and once it starts, it grows quietly. Now let's talk about something very few men understand. Women fall in love not when they feel excited, but when they feel emotionally safe while they're excited. Excitement alone fades, safety alone feels flat. But when she feels both with you, she begins to imagine a future, not logically, emotionally. She starts to picture moments, conversations, time together. And when that happens, you're no longer just someone she's talking to. You're someone she's becoming attached to. Now notice what you didn't do. You didn't promise her anything. You didn't rush her. You didn't try to lock her down. You just allowed her to feel. And feelings are what make people fall. And now let's go even deeper. There's a point where she starts to feel emotionally exposed with you. Not in a scary way, but in a real way. She might share something personal, a memory, a fear, a part of herself she doesn't show easily. And when she does, you don't rush to respond. You don't judge. You don't try to be clever. You simply stay, and that staying is what makes her heart feel held. And when a heart feels held, it starts to open more and more and more until suddenly you're not just someone in her life, you're someone in her heart. Now, take a slow breath, because what comes next is the moment when emotional closeness begins to feel like love. There's a soft shift that happens when a woman realizes she trusts you. It's not dramatic, it's quiet. She stops filtering her words, she stops holding back her thoughts. She lets you see her as she is, and that honesty is intimate, more intimate than anything physical, because it means she feels safe being real with you, and that safety deepens everything. Now imagine her telling you something she's never told many people. You don't interrupt, you don't rush, you listen fully. Your attention becomes something she feels in her body, like warmth, like reassurance, like calm, and when you respond, your words are gentle, understanding, not trying to fix her, just letting her know she's not alone. That kind of emotional closeness changes the way she sees you. You become someone she feels connected to on a deeper level, not just attraction, attachment. Now let's talk about the way desire grows here. It's not loud, it's subtle. It shows up in how she lingers when you talk, how she wants conversations to last longer, How she doesn't want the moment to end, that's emotional desire, and emotional desire is the foundation of love. Now think about how you make her feel when you're together. Not excited in a frantic way, but calm in a warm way. That calm becomes something she craves because it makes her feel grounded, centered, safe, eh? And that's when she begins to associate you with comfort, with peace, with emotional warmth. Those are the feelings that create attachment. Now here's something important. You don't pull away when things get close. You don't panic. You don't suddenly become distant. You stay present. That tells her he's not afraid of connection, and that makes her feel even safer. And the safer she feels, the deeper she falls. Now imagine her thinking about you before she falls asleep. Not because of anything dramatic you did, but because being with you feels good, because talking to you feels easy, because your presence feels comforting, and those thoughts carry into her dreams. That's when someone begins to matter. Now breathe, because what comes next is where this connection turns into something she doesn't want to lose. There's a moment when a woman realizes something has quietly taken root inside her. She may not call it love yet. She may not even want to, but she feels it. She feels how different it is when she talks to you, how calm her mind becomes, how warm her chest feels, how easy it is to just be herself. And she starts to notice that she doesn't want that feeling to disappear. That's when connection becomes attachment. Now imagine her lying in bed at night, the world quiet, her thoughts drifting. She thinks about the way you listen to her, the way you make her feel understood, the way you never rush her words, and a soft smile touches her lips. Not because of something you said, but because of how you made her feel. That's when you become more than just someone in her life. You become someone her heart recognizes. Now, here's the beautiful truth. You didn't force this. You didn't manipulate it. You didn't try to control her feelings. You simply created a space where she could feel safe, seen, and emotionally close. And love grew naturally inside that space. That's the opposite of what other guys do. They try to take, you allowed her to give. They try to impress, you allowed her to feel. They try to rush, you allowed things to unfold. And because of that, what she feels for you is real. Not excitement that fades, not attraction that burns out, but something deeper, something warmer, something that stays. Now let's come back to you for a moment, because the power you now hold isn't in techniques or tricks. It's in how you show up, in how you listen, in how you remain present, in how you make someone feel emotionally safe while still desired. That's what makes a woman fall in love. Not big gestures, not flashy words, but the quiet feeling of being understood by someone who isn't trying to change her, just being with her. And if you carry this energy into your life, if you move through the world with calm confidence, emotional presence, and quiet strength, you won't have to chase connection. It will find you. She will feel it. She will be drawn to it. And when she is, you'll know. Because it won't feel forced, it will feel natural, like two people slowly leaning toward each other until they realize they don't want to pull away. Now, before you go, if this resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside as you listened, I want you to stay connected. Subscribe, like, share this with someone who needs to hear it, because the more you understand emotional attraction, the more powerful your presence becomes. And that presence changes everything.